Middlebury College in Vermont. And there he worked closely with students, staff, and faculty to implement and achieve carbon neutrality. They brought Middlebury's net carbon emissions down to zero. He brings to Tulane and to New Orleans a great deal of nuts and bolts knowledge of how to reduce emissions, both the technologies and the financial instruments. So I'm very pleased to introduce to you Patrick Norton.
All right, thank you, Liz, and thanks for having me. And I'm really pleased to see you gathered here this morning at the beginning of a new semester and a new year to dedicate a day to discussing the challenges of climate change. As a university located in the coastal city, it is vitally important that we prepare for the changes already underway and that we join the larger work of reducing carbon emissions. During the past year, extreme weather events near and far have shown us that we must make climate change action a priority. So Tulane University is a member of the President's Climate Commitment, a network of colleges and universities that have committed to tracking and reducing their greenhouse gas emissions with the ultimate goal of achieving carbon neutrality. We've completed a climate action plan, which is a detailed analysis of the cost and potential savings of multiple actions that will reduce our emissions. It maps a path toward reducing our emissions by 15% in 2020 and 30% by 2025. Like many climate action plans, it begins with energy efficiency and conservation, making sure that we are using energy wisely in our buildings and university infrastructure. Reducing energy waste is an important initial action as it saves money and makes it easier to shift to cleaner energy sources in the future. It can also free budget dollars spent on utility bills for the core academic activities of the university. So prior to my arrival at Tulane, I was the VP for Finance and the treasurer of Middlebury College in Vermont. I was responsible for all the financial and administrative functions, including the physical plant, and for 13 years, I, along with many others, worked with the students, faculty, and staff to develop and put in place a plan to achieve carbon neutrality. The path to carbon neutrality at Middlebury began in 2001, when Middlebury completed its environmental peak report, which recommended that Middlebury set a carbon neutrality goal. That same year, students conducted Middlebury's first ever emissions inventory, laying the foundation for measuring carbon emissions on campus. The following year, a carbon reduction initiative was agreed upon, setting in motion a multi-year data collection and planning process. The working group recommended a goal of reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 8% below the 1990 levels by 2012. It became very clear pretty quickly that the first goal was achievable, so a group of students sought a more ambitious goal of reaching carbon neutrality by 2016. Carbon neutrality by 2016. They brought their proposal to the president at the time, Ron Leibowitz, back in 2006, and Ron championed the carbon neutrality cause, but also demanded intellectual rigor from students, and that he was a big believer in that the bigger lesson as educators is to give students the chance to pursue the big idea, the moonshot. In 2007, the trustees adopted a resolution for Middlebury to become a carbon neutral campus by 2016. So the president pushed it and the board endorsed it. So now it's institutional priority to become carbon neutral by 2016. So here we go, right? Technical innovation was a critical ingredient in the road to carbon neutrality. The biggest step forward came with the construction of the college's biomass facility in 2008. The plant was the first of its kind, so new that its serial number was 001, the first of its kind. The biomass plant was designed to replace half of its fuel oil consumption. Middlebury has now cut its fuel oil consumption down from 2 million gallons to 600,000 gallons. Instead, some 20,000 tons of locally sourced and sustainable wood chips come through the biomass plant each year. Today, the biomass gasification plant exceeds the manufacturer's original specifications, saving the college between $1 million and $2 million a year, while pumping $1 million into the local economy. So at the same time that we were saving money, we were also pumping resources into the local economy. But it wasn't all wins. But as with most innovation and experimentation, the path to neutrality did not always go as planned. There were a few failed experiments. For example, Middlebury engaged on a pilot project to grow willow shrubs on campus property as a potential local renewable fuel source for the biomass plant. Unfortunately, after 3 years of growth, the initial harvest of willow chips contained too much moisture and really failed when we tried to gasify it. So the science didn't work. The science didn't work. While biomass has played a key role in achieving carbon neutrality, dozens of small initiatives have also made an impact. Over the years, Middlebury has completed 87 energy efficiency projects. In addition, Middlebury is also a partner in multiple solar projects, local solar projects. The final piece of carbon neutrality puzzle came in the form of an innovative idea to conserve in perpetuity 2,100 acres of forest land on Middlebury's Breadloaf Mountain. By conserving these lands, Middlebury can count the carbon sequestration of the preserved forest towards its carbon reduction efforts. In 2016, Middlebury achieved net zero carbon emissions through all the items I mentioned: biomass gasification, conversion to biofuels, solar projects, a number of efficiency projects, and protecting the carbon sequestered in the college-owned forests. So what were the lessons learned? Some which may be applicable here at Tulane. Number one, the need for institutional leadership. Leadership at the presidential level, leadership at the administrative level, and leadership at the board level. Number two, the need for student engagement and community engagement all working together. This would have never happened without students working, pushing the administration, educating the administration, and holding us accountable. And also integrating with faculty and the staff, the plant operators, to ensure that the technical aspects were all covered as well. So once again, student engagement, but working within the integrated community. Number three, allow for innovation and experimentation. Biomass gasification is a great example. It was the first plant that rolled off the line, and there were a lot of bumps and bruises to get it up and running, but at the end of the day, it not only offset tons of oil, but also exceeded the manufacturer's specifications. And then experimentation as well around the Willow project and a number of other projects that just didn't go well, but really kept us thinking and really innovating on how to get to carbon neutrality. Number four, build on the successes and learn from your failures. But above all, be patient and persistent. You know, the goal was set in 2007. The idea was 2001. And there were a number of projects along the way. Some worked, some didn't. The ebbs and flows of students' lives, administrators' lives. But above all, we were patient and persistent. And then fifth, develop solutions that make economic sense. All right, so as the treasurer of Tulane, as I was the treasurer of Middlebury, when somebody comes forward with an idea, I always ask for what's the ROI, broadly defined. Whether it's programmatic, whether it's academic, or whether it's financial. It's got to make financial sense at the end of the day when we take on initiatives. And lastly, through this process, I learned that there is no silver bullet, no one solution. So to cut emissions and slow climate change, we will have to cobble together many solutions, a portfolio of solutions. We will need to get a lot of smart people thinking about it. We'll need faculty researchers, such as a team in physics and engineering, developing a hybrid solar energy converter. We'll need students to continue to do research and propose sustainable actions that we can implement. We'll need our staff to help us operate efficiently in sustainability, whether they work in our office or in the power plant. We'll need our students to educate us. We'll need many kinds of knowledge and power and creative work to anticipate and prepare for the possible changes of climate change. The Living with Water panel later today will give you an example of such a project. We have many people in the room today and many people at the university and in the community who know a lot about these issues. I hope this day begins many conversations about how we can creatively and wisely address this global challenge together. Now more than ever, we need a greater commitment to creating clean, zero-carbon energy systems in this country, and that responsibility and innovation will likely come within our cities, businesses, and here at colleges and universities. So thank you for listening to me, and enjoy your day.